Welcome to online classes. I am Shilpa. We are learning OOPS through C++. In previous lecture, we discussed types of inheritance and discussed about single inheritance. What is the syntax for single inheritance? And we have seen one example program how this single inheritance can be implemented. In today's lecture, we are going to execute a program on single inheritance and also on multiple inheritance. As we discussed in previous lecture, single inheritance means acquiring or creating one derived class from one base class, deriving a single class from base class, that is called as single inheritance. So, in the syntax for deriving a class from existing class is this, that is the keyword class followed by the name of the derived class colon and visibility mode and name of the base class and followed by its members. So here when we created like this, then we need to create an object for only the derived class, and by using the object of this derived class we can able to access all the members of base class, as those members of base class are part of the derived class. So here you have seen this syntax how a derived class can be implemented from the base class A. Okay, and we discussed a single that is a program on single inheritance. Here we declared one class, that is person, with two data members name, three data members name, age and gender, and two member functions get data and display. That is, here the get data is used to read values for these three variables, and display base simply displays the content of that particular data members. Okay, here display base, and after that we are going to derive a class, that is student, okay, from the class person in public mode. That is, when we are deriving a class in public derivation, then all the protected and private members of base class, all the, of course here there are no protected members. If it consists of any protected members, then the protected members and public members of the base class comes as usual to the derived class student. So as it is having only public members, all the public members will copied into this derived class student, and of course along with those it is having two data members, that is roll number and branch, and two member functions. First member function which is used to call the public member function of the base class, as well as it is going to display some values, that is its members, and here sorry, it is going to read values for roll number and branch, and here display derived, and here also it is going to display the members of the base class along with the members of this derived class. And in main we are simply calling object for the derived class, that is student, and using that as we are calling the members of derived class only. In turn, these member functions of the derived class calling the member functions of the base class. If you want to call the base class member functions in main, that is also possible using this object, that is S. Okay, of course at the time of execution I will show you by modifying all those things. Now open Turbo C++. Here open a new file and type the program, that is hash include iostream, hash include chromium. Okay, and after that declare the base class here person with private members name and age, name, name and age and caste, gender, okay, and public member functions. Public, so by default they are, that is members of this person class are private, because we are not specified any visibility mode. So by default it takes that as private members. Get data of base, okay. So if you want to declare here, that is write the code for this. Here you can write cout, enter the number, enter. First one is enter name and cin into appropriate variable, that is the variable name, okay. And after that cout, cout, enter age, and cin into the appropriate variable, that is age, and cout, enter gender, gender. Okay, so this is the member function which is used to read values for the name, age, and gender. And after that, declare one more member function, void display base, Okay. And here I want to declare this out of the class. So the return type of this function is void, and the name of the class is person, and scope resolution operator, and display base, and simply see out all these variables. See out see out the name is name, and see out the age is age, and see out gender is the variable gender, that's it. Okay, so this is the declaration and definition of a base class here, that is the person. And now what I want to do is I want to create a new class from the class person. So the name of the class is here, I want to give as student as the name of the class, and colon, and public derivation, I want to derive this class publicly from the uh, base class. So here public and name of the base class is person, okay. And here I want to declare two more data members, that is the int roll number, because student may has um, roll number and branch, char branch, okay. That is a character array, and public member functions in order to read values for these variables. So void get data. So here also what I want to do is, actually here my intention is, I will show you at the time of execution. Get data, derive, derive, okay. And I want to write the definition here itself. See out enter roll number, seen into appropriate variable, that is roll number, and see out, enter branch, seen into variable branch, that's it. Okay, and after that that is define, and the member function, that is display derived, and see out, the roll number is roll number, okay, and the see out, branch is variable branch, okay, new line, branch, and then end of the derived class, and write main function void main, and as we are derived student class, we need to create object for student s dot call all the members of derived class. So here if you observe here we are having get database, display base, those two are belongs to base class, and in derived class we are having get data derived and display derived. So we need to call all these functions, member functions, using only the object of the derived class, that is student. So s dot get data base and s dot get data derived, as usual for display also, display base s dot display derived, okay, and after that simply get ch, and void we are using, otherwise you can use that is int, and return 0, clr cr, okay. Now save the file, save with single single inheritance, save it and compile the program. For errors, that is person display base is not a member of person legal. And then you can use, okay, our concentration is not this thing actually. So here get database, what are the errors we will see once again. Combine person display base, void person display, enter, run the program, enter name, A B C, enter age, 17, enter gender, enter roll number. So male, enter branch, the name is ABC, the age is 17, gender is, the roll number is. So here it is going to happen. Short display name, age and gender. So here display derived. So here you check the program. So same program, but previously we didn't write this one, that is we are seeing gender. We simply printed enter gender, and we are not at all read that value into the appropriate variable. That's why like that we have got the output. Now that was modified, and run the program, compile the program first and run the program. So enter name ABC, enter age some 17, and here gender we specified only character, not error. So male, okay. So M, roll number 20, and enter branch, that is CSC. So here name is ABC, age is 17, gender is M, the roll number is 20, and branch is CSC. So like that, here by using only the object of the derived class, here S. Okay, we are calling get database as well as the display base using only this object. Why? Because here when a class, that is student, is derived from the base class, so all the public members of that class comes into the derived class, that is a copy of the accessible members, not only the public, accessible members will copied into the derived class. So in this, here the base accessible members of the base class are get database and display base. So those can be accessed, that is the copy of these two member functions, get database and display base, will come and store into the derived class student. So by using the object of the student, we can able to directly call the member functions of get data and display of base classes. Okay, so here what I want to show you is, even as these member functions are public, so in get data derived I want to call get data base, okay. And likewise in display derived I am calling um, display base. Okay, so because here they are part of the derived class, this get database and get display base are the part of the uh, derived class. So directly here we can call them, or we can make use of the public members of the base class in derived class. That's why here in get data derived I am calling get database, and as well as here display derived I am calling display base. Now save the modifications and compile the program and run the program. So enter name, same I want to give the same input ABC, age is 17, and gender is male, and roll number is 20, and branch is CSC. We are getting the same output as that is the previous one. Okay, but here we perform some modifications. ABC 17M, the roll number is 20, and branch is CSC. That is, even you can call or you can use the member functions of the base class in derived class itself, not in main. Okay, and here we are using this if I want to use the same member function names in both means in base and derived classes. I want to use same names, function names in both the classes. In both the classes, and we will check what happens. We'll check what happens to the code and whether it will give any errors or, it execute with that is differently. Okay, we'll check that. Here what I am doing, I am simply using same function names in both the classes, that is in base class and derived classes. Note it, I am using the same uh, function names or member function names, that is here get data in order to get the values for name, age and gender, and display function in order to display name, age and gender. Likewise, even in the derived class, that is student, I am using same function get data, okay, to read values for roll number and branch, and display to display roll number and branch. Now let me execute this and check whether it gives error or it gives some other output. So no errors. Here we are not at all getting any errors. Then what about the output? We are getting nothing. Why we are getting nothing? Why? Because here again, of course, we are unable to open that again. So now again open the Turbo C++, and now we'll, why we are getting like that, we will check here single inheritance. Sorry. Okay, why? Because here at the time of execution, that is program execution starts from main, and here it is going to we are that is here we are written a code, that is we are going to create an object for student, that is s, and after that using that s we are going to call the member function get data. So when the compiler encountered this particular statement, then it will get ambiguity, because here the base class is having a member function with same name, that is get data, as well as the derived class is having same name, that is member function with the same name, that is get data. So the compiler will get an ambiguity and it will not giving any output to us. Okay, in order to overcome this ambiguity, so here when we are going to call a member function of the base in derived class, if the member functions names are same in both the classes, that is base and the derived classes. If the member functions names are same in both the classes, that is base and derived classes, and if you want to call the base class member function in derived classes, then you call that member function with its class name, person, scope resolution, okay, and followed by this particular thing. Okay, get data. Likewise here in display, this display is the derived class function, and in derived class function I want to call the base class display function. So what is the name of the base class here? Person, and using the scope resolution operator we need to call the display function. Now let me check whether this program gives any errors or whether it gives output or not. So no errors. Run the program. See, it is asking us to enter name A, B, C, and age 17, gender M, roll number 25, branch CSC. See, we are getting all the that is variables which we entered here. we are able to give values for all the variables which declared in both the classes, that is base and derived classes, and also we are able to access the values of all the members of base and derived classes, and we are displaying here. So if we want to use same function names in both base and derived classes, base and derived classes, okay, and at the time of execution the compiler may have some ambiguity at the time of calling a function, because here the class is having more than one function with the same name, of course with the same prototype, but in which are declared in base and derived classes. So in that case, in order to overcome that problem, if you want to make use, of course one better solution is better to give different names for the member functions in both base and derived classes. That is the first one which we have executed. So in the first, that is at the first time when we are writing this particular code, so there we use different names for the member functions of both base and derived classes. That is by including that base and derived for base class of member functions and derived class member functions. Okay, if you use different names for the members of base and derived classes, nothing will be happen. If knowingly or unknowingly or by mistake, if you are declared same member functions in both the classes, that is base and derived classes, in order to specify this member function is should be called from either base and derived classes, then you need to use this particular syntax. That is when you are going to call the member function which is having the same name as the member function of the derived, in order to call the that is base class member function, you need to specify the name of that class, scope resolution operator, and followed by the name of the function. So here that is the compiler clearly distinguish that if we are calling s dot get data, then it knows that that is the compiler has to call the member function of derived class, that is in this case student, because s is the object of the class student. And when we are specified like this, that is by with the name of the base class person scope resolution get data, then it calls only the get data of the base class, that is person in this case. So like that the compiler can that is distinguish the functions, though the both classes are having same names, that is both base and derived classes are having same names. If you don't want to do all these things, then better to use different names for all the member functions of both derived and base classes. Okay, now here we are going to discuss one more example for this single inheritance. Here this base class base info, it is basic information of a particular student, that is name, roll number and gender, and get data to read values for name, roll number and gender, and display to display. Okay, and here I want to create one more derived class, that is I want to derive a class from base class, that is basic information, that is here the name of the derived class is physical information. Physical information, that is float, height and weight or color or whatever it is. So these are basic information. Name, roll number and gender comes under basic information of a student. Okay, and physical information means float and the height, weight, color and all those things. Okay, so here we are declaring one base class, that is base info with these three variables and two member functions to read, that is get data to read values for these variables and display to display, and physical information in order to get values for these height and weight, and use some other member functions to display height and weight of the particular student. Okay, this is assignment for you. You can write or you can try to implement single inheritance concept by using these two classes. Already we have seen one example program for single inheritance, and now you can try the single inheritance program for this code. Okay, simply you need to add some other, that is the definitions of get data display, and here add some other member functions, and body of that is the definitions of those member functions, and that is write the main function and try to execute the program. This is another example you can do to implement single inheritance. Okay, now I am going to multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance. So in previous lecture we discussed the definition, or we know the definition of multiple inheritance. So here what is meant by multiple inheritance? In the name itself, in the name itself. So multiple inheritance means deriving a class from several base classes. Several base classes. Here it is, we are having one derived class, and this derived class is deriving from more than one classes. More than one classes. Multiple from more than one. We are deriving a single class from more than one class. That is called as multiple inheritance. So the syntax for multiple inheritance is, here we are deriving a single class. So as usual, the syntax is, first we need to use the keyword class followed by the derived class name, and colon is also like the previous one only, that is syntax for the single inheritance, and visibility mode same as the previous one, and here class name 1 comma class name 2, because here we are deriving this particular class from more than one class, in this case particularly from two classes. So first visibility mode class name 1 comma, here also we need to specify the visibility mode, visibility mode, and class name 2, class name 2. So normally this is the syntax for declaring multiple inheritance. Okay, this is actually the actual syntax. Class keyword, derived class name, colon, visibility mode, class name 1 comma visibility mode, class name 2, and followed by its body, that is derived class definition. Okay, so this is the syntax. So in previous that is here this visibility mode is missing in previously. So if this visibility mode for the second class is missing, then it takes this class, derived class, is derived privately from class name 2, class name 2. Of course here from class name 1 based on the visibility mode, but as we are not specified any visibility mode for the class name 2, then here it will take that as a private. By default the visibility mode is always in classes private. So privately inherited. This class is privately inherited from class name 2. Okay, so and don't think that here though that is here already we specified some visibility mode, and that will be applicable for both the classes. If you omit this, then that will be applicable for both the classes. Don't think like that. Okay, so here we need to specify, we need to specify. If you are not specified, then it takes this mode as private, but this visibility mode is not applicable for both the classes, because this class is different and we are separating with comma, that is it. This is individual and this is individual, so this visibility mode will not affect the visibility mode of the class name 2. Okay, this thing you need to remember at the time of declaring this multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance. So here we will see an example. Class A and its own members and class B and its own members. And now I am going to derive a class C. Okay, that is from public derivation from class A and public using public derivation from class B. So here from both the classes, that is A and B, and using this public derivation we are deriving the class C. That means here if the derivation is public derivation, then all the public and protected members of both the classes A and B comes as members of the derived class C. Okay, we can, by using the object of the derived class C, we can able to access all the protected and public members of A and B classes. Okay, so now we'll see a same example, of course. So in previous one, same example we will take class person with these three data members and member functions and with their definitions. Okay, and here I am separating this student. Previously this is the same example which we discussed in single inheritance. Okay, but in that this class student is derived from person, but here this is again a individual class. This is not a derived class. This person is one class. Okay, this is a class with some data members and member functions and with their definitions. And here this is another class, that is student, with its own data members and member functions. Here. Okay, and now as we are discussing multiple inheritance, here we are going to derive a class, that is exam, from both the classes, that is student and person. Normally here the student and person are the individual classes. So here we are taking them as base classes, and using those two classes, student and person, we are deriving a class, that is exam. That means here this class exam will get all the members of student, all the members of student, that is get data and display of this student, and um, get data and display of person. Okay, all the members of this. Okay, so here it will get all the members, and simply here in same we are using the same member functions, sorry, that is the names are same for all the classes, that is get name and get data and display. So here get data of exam, that is the member function, get data of the class exam is going to call the get data function of person and get data function of student, including its own code, that is in order to get the values for marks 1 and marks 2. Okay, and like that here it is having one member function, that is into total, which is used to find the total of these two marks, and it's simply returning that value. So it is having one member function, that is total, which calculates the addition of, or which adds the member variables m1 and m2, and it returns that to that as return value. And another function, that is display, which simply calls base class 1 display function and base class 2 display function. Okay, and it is including some other code like say out marks are m1 m2 and total. Okay, and in main we need to call object for only the that is derived class. In this case the derived class is exam. Okay, we are creating object for E, and using that E we are calling the member functions get data and display. So here the compiler calls only the get data member function of the derived class. So here this is the definition of the get data function of the derived class, that is exam. So internally it is calling get data function of person, that is one base class, and get data function of another base class. Okay, likewise here display also it is in turn it is calling the display functions of person and student, that is two base classes. Okay, like that here we can modify the same program which we discussed previously for single inheritance to for multiple inheritance. So okay, we will I think we can add the code. So here what the code we need to add get data gender display, and here we need to make this as a separate class, not as grade class. So class student, as this is the uh, okay, otherwise I want to save as this as multiple. I don't want to override that. Multiple dot multiple in her dot cpp. Okay, and after that here just we don't require, we need not to call this. So I want to make that as a comment, and it is not possible because here the student is in separate class, so it is not possible. And after that here we need to create derive a class, that is exam from both the classes, that is public, the first class name is person comma and public derivation only. If you are not specified any derivation, then it takes that as private. Okay, so publicly derived from the both classes, that is person and student. And here we need to specify its own definition, that is I want to make all the members of this class as public. Int m1 comma m2. Okay, and again same function name get data, which is used to call the both get data of both the classes, that is person get data, and student get data. Along with that it has to get values for m1 m2. So enter m1 and m2. Okay, and cin into m1 m2. Okay, this is the code for get data. And I want to declare one more member function, that is int total, which simply returns the return value, that is adding these two members m1 and m2. It is returning that value plus m2, it is returning that. And one more member function, that is display, void display. I want to define it out of the class. Okay, so here void exam is the name of the class, and the function is display. So call the display functions of base classes, that is first one is person. Okay, first one is person, so call that one first, person display, and after that student display, and display the values. Cout cout marks are m1 marks are m1 some space M2. Okay, and also print the total. Cout total total is that variable. That is here we need to call the function because it is returning the value. Okay, and this is the end of the function. And now main, here we need to create object for what derived class, that is exam. So exam e, and using that e call the member functions of exam. Okay, e dot and e dot display. That's it. First let us save and check for the errors. No errors. On the program, enter name ABC, age 17, gender female, roll number 25, branch CSC. So we are able to access all the members of both the classes, that is person and student, really, because in single inheritance also we are get the same thing. And additionally it is asking enter M1 and M2. Okay, 20, 30. Now it is displaying everything. The name is ABC, the age is 17, gender is F, the roll number is 25, branch is CSC, marks are 20, 30 and total is 50. So this is an example for multiple inheritance we are making, that is we are simply overwriting the example program of single inheritance only by adding another that is the class, that is the exam, which is derived from person and student. We included only this, everything is same like previous one only, and we are calling the member functions of person and student in this derived class exam. Okay, that is get data of person student, and display of person and student. And in main only we are calling get data and display of the derived class, that is exam. Okay, so like that you can modify the code which is already implemented for the single inheritance. Okay, so in today's lecture we have that is executed one program on single inheritance, and we discussed multiple inheritance of course, and we perform some that is experiments. Of course, we observed if we modify like if we provide same names for all the members of both the classes, then what happens, and if that is the case, then how we can access. We observed all these things by executing our programs. And also we do have that is executed multiple inheritance program. Thank you.